This video will cover the timeline widget and the Quarch PAM module integration. The Quarch PAM module integration can be found under our capture dashboard. Under the configure capture settings, there is a new tab called Quarch PAM. Under it, you have a checkbox to enable the Quarch PAM capture, and then a sample rate box to change the sample rate of the Quarch, just like you would in the Power Studio. After you've enabled that checkbox, verify you have a lock, hit the record button, and then once you stop recording, the Quarch PAM data will be available in the trace. Go and open the trace, and you can see within the timeline widget, which is now part of the default view, there's the Quarch PAM data along with the down and upstream events, down and upstream throughput, the sideband, LTSSM, the down and upstream links as far as those statuses. You can also add the selected transactions. So if there's any transactions or NVMe transactions you have selected, it will show the amount of time that those took to complete on the timeline view. So within the timeline view, similar to our histogram and LTSSM widgets, you have a selection mode, a pan mode, and a zoom mode. You have two boxes to enter your start and end of trace time. So if you wanted to look at a specific time range, you can enter those there. You have a zoom or a fit to trace button. So if you're zoomed in to a specific area, but then you wanted to zoom back out and see the whole trace, click that and immediately zooms out and sees the whole trace. You have a data elements dropdown to allow you to add and remove certain elements of the timeline if you want to view or see different things. You have a bookmarks button to show and hide bookmarks that you've created in the trace and markers as well. So if there's any markers that you've added into the timeline widget, you can see those. Snap to closest event, and then there is a sync to selected events. So whenever you have the sync to selected event open, it will sync to whatever event you have selected in the events or the transactions widgets. So you can see a marker that will follow that. Within the timeline widget, if you hover over each different field, it'll give you more information about what happened at that specific time range, the peak, the average. Similar with the sideband, it'll show you what channel you're on, whether it was high or low. The down and upstream LTSSM, similar to how you had the LTSSM widget, you can expand those and see the different states that the device went through. We now include the Quarch PAM data. So if you wanted to add or remove anything with the Quarch PAM over the Quarch power, you can do that here. You can also zoom in and see different peaks, what the power was, power spike, etc. Or if you're looking for any kind of low power, anything like that, whenever your device isn't using a lot of power, see how much power savings you get, etc. You can check those too. And it'll essentially, whenever you zoom over, it'll give you all the information at that timestamp. And same with the link, whenever you hover over it, it'll have a little pop-up that gives you the speed and width that the device was currently at that time. In order to add markers to the timeline widget, you'll want to be in selection mode, and then left click and drag left or right to add a marker. You can add one marker at a time. Doing that, to add multiple markers to the timeline widget, press Control and then left click again, and then you can add multiple markers at one time. Once you create a new marker without holding the left or without holding Control, it will remove all the old previous markers and just create a singular marker. So make sure that if you're wanting to save those markers, you right click on top of them. You can save, edit, remove them, or clear all markers. So we have a couple of different options with the right click menu as far as what you're wanting to look for. Go to timestamp if you're looking at the events or the LTSSM. You can zoom in, reprocess it, clear markers. So there's a lot of features within the timeline widget. There's also an embedded help menu that will pop up and show you some information about the timeline widget here, some of the keyboard shortcuts, etc. Along with zooming in with the mouse wheel, you have a zoom bar at the very bottom. Whenever you see a magnifying glass pop up, you can click and drag left to zoom out, click and drag right to zoom in. There is also another zoom bar here on the right side that you can use to zoom in and out depending on where your current midpoint is in the trace. If you have any questions over the timeline widget or the Quarch PAM integration, feel free to email us at support@serialtech.com.